Hello, welcome. I'm so glad you're joining us today for this Lunch and Learn presentation hosted by the Oklahoma State Historic Preservation Office. I am Christina Wyckoff, historical archaeologist with the OK SHPO, and today I'm very fortunate to be joined by three members of the Threatt family, specifically three of four cousins, all grandchildren of Allen and Alberta Threatt, who together have worked tirelessly to preserve and restore the Threatt Filling Station on Route 66 near the town of Luther. I want to introduce Reverend Dr. Allen Threatt III, Pastor Emeritus of Mount Pleasant Baptist Church of Arcadia, Edward D. Threatt, U.S. Air Force veteran, Threatt Legacy LLC co-CEO and Threatt Filling Station Vice Chairperson. Joining us virtually, we have Charles David Threatt, Lieutenant Commander U.S. Navy retired, Threatt LLC co-CEO and Threatt Filling Station Chairperson. And though she could not attend this presentation, the fourth cousin is Linda D. Fisher, Threatt Legacy LLC Vice President and Threatt Filling Station Secretary. Reverend Threatt, Ed, David, thank you so much for joining me today. Please tell us about the Threatt Filling Station Rehabilitation Project.
Yes, I'll start right here. I want to say thank you all for joining us here today. Again, my name is Edward Threatt, and we will briefly be going over some of the station background and history, the station rehabilitation, the whole crew, the CBS Morning News segment, future projects, the Centennial, which is coming in 2026, and just against a little bit about us, okay? And with that, what I would like to do is to turn this over to Reverend Threatt and let him discuss some of the station background with you.
Okay, God bless you. The Threatt Service Station is a very important historic place. And March the 22nd, 1933, it was located on the Threatt Farm. Grandfather was blessed by God to build a special place for the safe haven of people traveling from the East Coast to the West Coast. It bought 160 acres of land, and out of 160 acres of land, we have 150 acres still standing. My grandfather, Allen Threatt Sr., and grandmother, Alberta Threatt. The name Allen is a great name because from that name I am Allen the Third. My dad was Allen the Second. My son is Allen Fourth, and I have 5 grandboys, and each one of them, his middle name is Allen. The Threatt Farm, the Threatt Service Station during the land rush in 1900. The historic place that we have seen here, that grandfather was blessed by God, had a vision, and built the Threatt Service Station on a unique spot because they call it the Mother Road from East Coast to West Coast. And we believe that because of our grandfather had a great vision during the Jim Crow era, when blacks couldn't stay after 6 o'clock in sundown time. But from East Coast to West Coast, the Negro race or the America race would travel from East Coast to West Coast. They had password, and that password was please stop by the Threatt Service Station, and you can find refuge there. Not only refuge, but you can find food, drinks, and you can be at ease, you can rest, and travel, get up and travel when you are feeling better. Now, within this service station, because of the neighborhood and because of the surrounding of the service station, it was the only service station, the only black service station was on 66 uh, a highway. And within this service station, my grandfather had a vision because we had what you call a modern day 7-Eleven. Within the service station, you can get bread, uh, cereal, whatever you stand in need of, you can get it here at the service station. And also it had a Red Cross. Red Cross service station was, Red Cross stand was set up within the service station for people that couldn't travel 20, 30 miles for hospital or to see a doctor. They get the amount of things as bandages and alcohol and other things that you need for just a cut, things like that. And also too, within this service station, they had a bus station. I remember when I was a little boy, people would drive down the dirt roads and be standing outside of the service station waiting for the Greyhound bus to come by, and they can load on the bus and go from one town to the other town. And the Negro had a Negro baseball league. I remember seeing people drinking beers, soda pops, crossing 66 highway, going in and out of the service station because the Negro baseball league every weekend on Saturdays and Sundays, they would compete one another. And all of this was a proud place. Not only that, because of the people were traveling in the RVs or whatever they be traveling in their cars, fill up with gas, and then after that they can walk in back of the service station. We have what we call a port area that they can sit down onto the tables. We had grandfather had lights. OGE came out and put light pole up with a transform, and from the transform, wires were running from one tree to the other. Lights were there at night, and behind the picnic tables, they had what you call a dance form, a platform that they can stand out there at nighttime. They can play the jukebox music and dance within on the floor according to the music. And all of this was a great place. And as a little boy, I enjoyed to see people. When people would drive up for gas, I would tiptoe just to wash the windshield and put gas into the cars. And so it was a great place. It was a safe, like I said a few minutes ago, it was a safe heating because we couldn't stop blacks as a race. You couldn't stop between sundown time, but because you could at Greek service station, and you could stop, enjoy yourself, and relax and feel like you are free, and you feel like you're comfortable. Brother Everett, you go ahead and discuss.
Yes, one thing I wanted to say here too also is that the service station was added to the National Register, both state and historic registers, in the year 1995, and that designation itself was I think very important to us here today, but because of that designation, we're able to accomplish some of the things that we've accomplished. Also, our grandfather, Allen Threatt Sr., was inducted into the Oklahoma Route 66 Hall of Fame, and I believe that was in October, September of last year in Clinton, Oklahoma. That pretty much is like a feather in our cap to have our grandpa inducted into the Route 66 Hall of Fame. So that to us is very important, very important. The rehabilitation of the service station itself, that is a project that is near and dear to our hearts. We started this rehabilitation process. It actually got started back in 2019, I believe it was, when um, we had to have a historic structure report done. And that was actually done by Mike Kurdock Architect. And once we got that, then we were able to move forward. And we had certain contractors. Again, Kurdock Architect was the primary architectural contractor. We had Holman Construction, Wilson Communication, um, Covington Heat and Air. Those were our primary contractors that worked on basically the inside of the building, getting that put back together and getting it put back together in accordance with guidelines that were set by the SHPO officer at the Oklahoma History Center. We worked very closely with what was her name? Okay, I'm drawing a blank on her name. Okay, excuse me, I'm just drawing a blank on that. But on the exterior of the building, we worked very closely with the National Trust. And that was pretty much headed up by Molly Baker. And through Molly, and Molly was an absolute blessing to us. Molly got us the whole crew, and a part of that crew included David Gibney. And David was he is a preservation specialist, and David really he was very meticulous in putting together the exterior of the building and what he described as a giraffe style painting on the building. Um, the contractor, prior to David coming, had replaced some of the brick on the side of the building, but when David got there and looked at it, David said, no, not good enough. And we actually had to go to the old home place where Grandpa actually raised his family, and we were able to find some sandstone of that building that was pretty much identical to the sandstone that the station was built from. And through David's efforts with the Hope crew, um, they were able to replace the sandstone that the contractor had put in the building. Now, I remember one thing that Molly had said. She said to me, because again, because I took so much pride in the building itself, I wanted to be involved. And Molly said to me that, I don't believe we've ever had an owner who wanted to take part in this process. So I had to constrain myself and really take a step back and let Molly and David Gibney take the lead on this whole project. And that was tough for me to do. But anyway, I did it. And I'm glad I did do it because, again, Molly, David, they knew exactly what they were doing. Okay, so it was it was a blessing for me to have them there. It was a blessing. So you can see some of the pictures. You can see the whole crew. You can see that giraffe style painting that the building, the way it is right now, it looks it looks very nice. I wish you could actually see it in person and not just in picture, because you would then be able to fully appreciate the effort that went into making this building look like it did 90 years ago when it was actually built. And that was one thing that David Gibney said that he wanted to make. He wanted it to look like it did originally. So again, I wish you could see it in person. And with that, we had CBS News come out and do an interview us. And so right now, what we would like to do is just to show you that interview, okay? And with that, I will close my mouth.
Something Pathfinder. If we stay on this course for, say, a couple of more days, will we still be in Texas?
Great question. That was a scene from the 1960 CBS drama Route 66. For 4 seasons, the series followed the exploits of 2 recent college grads who traversed the country on the famed highway. Once called the Main Street of America, Route 66 is no longer part of the U.S. highway system, but much of it is still drivable, dotted with landmarks like the Cadillac Ranch in Texas. One important milestone located in Luther, Oklahoma, recently landed on a list of the nation's most endangered historic places. But it won't be for long. Janet Shamlian takes us on a road trip to find out why.
Along the once celebrated Highway 66, now almost indistinguishable from many other country roads, there's a rescue in progress. This is the sound of saving history.
What do you think about what you're seeing here?
What they've accomplished in 1 week is just amazing. It's just amazing. Look how dark it is and how distinct it is.
Where would we be without them?
And Edward Threatt would know.
It's not ugly anymore.
It was his grandfather's place. The Threatt Filling Station was once among just a few African-American-owned gas stops along Route 66, a major U.S. thoroughfare for almost half a century.
It was one of the few places people of color could feel safe to stop and rest.
My grandpa was a smart man. To be able to acquire 160 acres of land, because we had so much property, they could stay out back. And this was literally a safe haven for people of color during that Jim Crow era.
But the building hasn't been safe from the ravages of time. It looked like this until recently, named one of America's most endangered historic places.
This is well over 50 years old.
That's where preservationist Molly Baker comes in, delivering hope, the acronym for hands-on preservation experience.
I'm going to have you work this stone.
Bringing in restoration experts like David Gibney to teach Job Corps workers how to bring a building back to life.
We want everything to look like it was originally there, and that's the real task here.
In the process, teaching stone cutting and painting to trainees like Jeremiah Booker.
I feel like I'm contributing and helping, by playing a part in doing this work.
The effort made possible by grants, donations, and fierce devotion to protecting the past.
We've already lost so many important structures, especially in the African American and underserved communities. They've just been torn down as eyesores.
Yeah, it's horrific. Part of telling the full American story is making sure that everyone has their story told and that there's representation for everybody.
From restoring a St. Croix plantation hospital for enslaved people to repairing gravestones at Houston's first African American cemetery, it's as much about sharing knowledge of what some consider a lost art.
If you do traditional trades, you're guaranteed of an income for the next 50 years. AI can never replace it. Robots can never replace it. It all has to be hand done.
And in triple-digit Oklahoma heat,
Do you need any water?
that's a job.
Without the Hope Crew, where would you be?
Up that creek.
It won't be a filling station, but Threatt and his family want to again make it a respite from the road, a place of history and learning for all.
What do you think your grandfather would think?
He's proud of us. I mean, I know he is. And he expects us, me, my cousins, who are now the elders of the family, to preserve this and pass it on and to make sure it never, ever is outside this family.
You got a lot to live up to.
Oh, yes. But we're doing that. We're doing that.
Saving invaluable history to enrich our future. For CBS Saturday Morning, Janet Shamlian, Luther, Oklahoma.
Job security. I like hearing about.
Okay, so you can see from the film itself some of the progress that we've made, and we still have a lot to do. And like I said in the film, we're doing it. And with that, what I would like to do is to turn things over now to my cousin David Threatt.
Hello, everyone. My name is Charles David Threatt. I'm known by family members by my middle name, David. And like my cousins, I'm the grandson of Allen Threatt Sr. and Alberta Threatt. I want to thank the Oklahoma History Center for hosting this event, the National Trust for Historic Preservation, and the HOPE crew. HOPE stands for Hands-On Preservation Experience, and that's exactly what happened. They were hands-on. It was a great experience for everyone there, and we're so appreciative. And I want to help thank the Guthrie Job Corps. That group of young people they were great. They were great. We're forever thankful to them as well. When we started on this journey about 8 years ago to rehabilitate the station, the journey turned into one of discovery and recollection. We've learned so much about our family and its involvement in the local community and beyond. From old newspaper clippings, we've discovered that the Threatt Filling Station was just a centerpiece of the overall Threatt Family Farm that became locally known as Threatt Park. National events like Easter, Memorial Day, Independence Day, Labor Day, Thanksgiving, and Christmas were celebrated with Easter egg hunts, dancing behind the station, as you heard Reverend Allen Threatt talk about, on a wooden platform with a jukebox and lights and tables and the chairs. And we as little kids, we love that. It just brings back such fond memories of watching all of these people. I mean, there were like huge numbers of people that would come to the family farm for these events, baseball games and other community-related events. Our desire is to recognize and honor the historical use of the farm's grounds by preserving, commemorating, and interpreting a significant aspect of African-American and U.S. Route 66 history along the Mother Road. To that end, we will open an interpretive center to present pictures and displays of life along the Mother Road, particularly with our family. As many of people of color were not welcome in the surrounding sundown towns to stay at hotels or eat in restaurants, those travelers knew they'd be safe by parking behind the station to rest overnight in their cars, awaken the next morning to refresh themselves, get a small breakfast at the station, fill their gas tanks, and be on their way to continue their travels. Again, continuing the farm's historical road, we will therefore open an RV park with supporting amenities and a pavilion to host national, state, and local celebrations to accommodate all travelers along the Mother Road. Plans for reviving the old family farm and baseball fields are also being pursued. Our goal is to be prepared for the 2026 U.S. Route 66 Centennial celebration. Many of you know that U.S. Route 66, the Mother Road, traverses 8 states, from Illinois to California, Chicago to Los Angeles, and includes approximately 359 miles in the state of Oklahoma. It was one of the nation's first continuous stretches of paved highway and served as a primary path as the country migrated west. Accordingly, many people worldwide have heard about it and love to travel the Mother Road for nostalgia. Cousins Ed Threatt and Reverend Threatt can attest to the many times that people from other states and countries have stopped by as we conduct this rehabilitation. They've stopped by at the station to ask questions, take pictures, look around the area, get to know more about the family. It's just been great. But the 2026 Centennial is coming. The nation is preparing for this Centennial, and we are prepping as well. Public Law number 116-256 established the Route 66 Centennial Commission Act to honor the Route 66 Centennial anniversary. So in just under 2 months, we will be 3 years away from the actual Centennial date of November 11th. So time is approaching. The bill set forth the duties of the commission, its membership, powers, and reporting requirements. The commission terminates on December 31st, 2026. We aim to have the interpretive center, RV park, pavilion, and other projects up and running well before the Centennial. We're in the planning stages, in fact, for these projects now. However, we do realize our goals are very ambitious, but we're determined to achieve them. As Ed said, we will get there. We'll doing it, and we'll get there. You can see on the map, if I can get back to that. Where the historical Threatt Filling Station is located east of Arcadia and west of Chandler. And it's just been, the public support that we've received has been outstanding. And from the family as well. But we don't want to go forward without mentioning give credit to some of the organizations and people that have helped us along the way. We're very grateful and thankful for the excellent support of all of these organizations listed here. Organizations and names listed have helped us to ensure the story is being told and shared. We believe our story of African American and U.S. history is worth preserving and commemorating, an aspect often overlooked and undertold along the legendary Mother Road. We'd like to thank Amy Webb, Molly Baker, Melissa Just, Brent Legs, Brenda Jones of the National Trust, Kaiser Bertulli of the National Park Service, Lieutenant Governor Pennell and Kerry Barrick of Oklahoma Main Street and Oklahoma Department of Commerce, Linda Ozon, Sarah Wernicke, Christina Wyckoff of the Oklahoma History Center, and others. Reese Martin of the Oklahoma Route 66 Association, Kelly Burns of Oklahoma Humanities, Bill Thomas of Route 66 Road Ahead Partnership, Jessica Medietz, Doug Masick, Max Piron, and Philip Fitzsimmons, professors at the Southwestern Oklahoma State University, Chantry Banks of Preservation, Oklahoma, Don Shelton of the Luther Register News, David Gibney, Katrina Parks of A Certain Films, and we can't forget Shelley Graham, who was there. She was in some of the pictures that you saw. She's a photographer there, lives in Arcadia, but she was there with the Hope Crew every day taking pictures. She's just a wonderful person that has helped us, not only with this, but other projects as well. But yeah, Don Shelton as well from Luther Register News, another person that's just been, making sure that we are aware of things that are going on. And the Luther Historical Society, the support has been fantastic. And of course, family members and friends that have just contributed in so many different ways to help us along the way. We are, again, eternally grateful. And finally, we'd like to acknowledge our family patriarch and matriarch, the family patriarch being Reverend Allen Threatt III, and the family matriarch, Martha Ann Threatt Badgett, who we just love both of them so much. The whole family just loves all of them, both of them. It's just amazing. But this is us, the staff that you heard from when Christina did the introductions. Linda Fisher, Edward D. Threatt, and myself, David Threatt. And with that, we thank everyone for joining. We look forward to your continued support. And Christina, turning it back over to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for this presentation, and I hope you'll be willing to answer some questions we have some questions coming in from people who've been attending. So the first question is, will you be putting pumps back in front of the building, gas pumps?
Yes, we will. We're actually right now, we have a gentleman out of Sepulveda, Oklahoma, who is in the process of restoring some pumps that we will place back in front of the station. We intend to have those pumps in place by June of next year. So yes, we definitely intend to have pumps. Now we will be able to light them up, but no gas. Okay, we will not have gas service at this station anymore. So, but we will have pumps.
The next question asks, when the station was closed, did they clean it out, or were things left behind that will help to tell the story? Yes. My aunt, Miss Threatt, I call her Miss Threatt because she was also my teacher. But my aunt was somewhat of a, she kept everything, okay? She kept everything. And so it's because of her and the fact that she did keep everything that we're able to, there's a lot that we know about what happened in the past because he kept so much of everything. So yes.
The cash register and other things like that.
Yeah. We have the cash register. We have documentation. We have receipts. We've got a cash book, a ledger book. We've got a little bit of everything. So yes.
And also to the piggyback over what my cousin said, we even found some receipt books that when people didn't have enough money to pay for gas, when they can get it, they can write a bill at IOU or however you want to say it, that they would come back the next day and pay my uncle, pay my grandfather or my uncle, whoever was in charge of that day running the service station, and pay them the money that they got gas, loaf of bread, box of cereal or credit during that time. So we was a very loving, giving service station. That's why people will come for a special purpose like that. Yes.
And if I could add to that as well, regarding some of the artifacts, the Smithsonian. Let me see. I want to get this title correct. Smithsonian Institution Traveling Exhibition Service, called CITES, on tour right now. We actually have the original cash register and 2 ledger books, 1 ledger books and 1 cash book. They're on tour around the country right now that show, as Reverend Threatt was talking about, when people would come in and pay for gas or pay for a loaf of bread or buy some eggs or other things that were, produce that was locally grown there on the family farm. And it's just wonderful seeing that. And that, again, that I believe right now it's in Pittsburgh. It's been traveling around the country now for the past couple of years. The actual tour will end in early 2025. And we will be able to provide you with a link to that Smithsonian CITES website, where people can actually see where the project or where the CITES tour is going next.
Our next questions, we have multiple questions asking about the baseball field. Can you tell us the story behind having the baseball field at the filling station or next to the filling station? Were your grandparents baseball fans?
Yes. the baseball diamond, in my mind, I can still visualize the players. I'm talking about like, no doubt, some players like Satchel Paige and the top black Negro baseball team. They would come on Saturdays and probably about 5 or 6 teams and compete all day on Saturday and Sunday. And they would walk across the street to the ball diamond, which was directly across the street from the service station. And it would, the fan will, after the game is over, they would interchange the other team coming on the field, where people will come across the street to the service station and enjoy themselves with barbecue, pop, hamburger, hot dog, and go back down for the next game. Yes, it was a series of teams, not just one team, but teams all over Oklahoma, and we even come from Tulsa and other towns will come to compete on a Saturday and Sunday to the baseball diamond and to the baseball games. Yes.
Now, I want to add to that because Reverend Threatt, and this goes to the difference in our ages and stuff. See, Reverend Threatt talks about baseball diamond being across the street from the service station. Now, when I was coming along, the baseball diamond was on the same side of the street that the service station was on, and at that point, during that period of time, my dad had for lack of a better term, it was just a bar, and the baseball diamond was sort of behind the bar, and it was a full-size baseball diamond again because we had so much property, and I can remember again Saturdays and Sundays, and at that point in time, during that period of time, a kid, because my dad owned the bar, I could be in the bar, and it was real exciting to me, just being able to go in the bar and be around so many people. And I mean, the place was packed. It was just packed full of people that looked just like me, and there was such a comfort in that. But the fact that the baseball diamond was back behind the field, and I was able to take part and be a part of that, it was just a joy. So when Reverend Threatt was coming along there, the baseball diamond was across the street. When I got involved with it, the baseball diamond was back behind the bar on the same side of the street as the service station is right now. So it was a blessing. It was just a joy.
Yeah, and let me say this because I'm a little bit older than my cousin. Because of the series of teams want to play one another. Not only the baseball diamond was across the street, but that was the first one. And then because of so many teams was coming on Saturday and Sunday to compete, we had my uncle and my grandfather, they had to build another diamond, baseball diamond, behind the service station, behind the bar. So that's when he came along. They had two baseball diamonds. Team was competing against each other. They go from one field to the other, and then because of the segregation was trying to come into all races and all people, bring people together. They cut the baseball diamond out across the street, and then we only had one baseball diamond, and that was behind the bar. Yes. Yeah.
And you said that there are, David, I think you mentioned that there are plans to revive the baseball stadium. Is that right? Are there plans to bring the baseball stadium back?
Yes.
Robin, so we would like to do that. We would like to revise it and get it looking like a baseball diamond again, and probably rent some bleachers and just set the bleachers out there like it used to be. Yes, that's it. That's possible. That's in our project also too. But we want everything to look like the original. Yes.
Can you tell us if there is anything remaining from the original homestead? Not at the filling station itself, but the homestead.
Well, where Grandpa raised his family at, the physical building is no longer there. It basically collapsed. We know all of the sandstone is still there. The root cellar is still there. I wouldn't go in it myself. It was not only did it serve as a root cellar, it was also a storm shelter against tornadoes and stuff like that. Because at one point, there used to be what was called Tornado Alley, but not so much anymore. But again, yeah, the footprint of the old home is still there. Yes, it is.
In fact, if I may, was it in June? Ed and I actually went out to the old homestead, the home, and Ed took me out there. I hadn't been out there in years, and we were talking about it. In fact, and going back even further, about 4 or 5 years ago now, when we were working with Sarah Warnicki and Linda Ozon and talking about the different artifacts that were left over. One of the things we had talked about doing, in fact, was going out there and, seeing if there's kind of, the possibility of excavating and see if we could get in there and see if there are any old artifacts or in there that we could actually use and preserve. And we, that's still on the table. We had to put that on the shelf, that plan on the shelf when COVID hit, and just kind of shut down a lot of other plans that we had as well. But we're starting to ramp back up, and that's still something that we talked about. In fact, Ed and I talked about, as you just heard Ed say, he wouldn't want to go in there right now. And the reason for that is there are a lot of critters and snakes and rattlers and all of that out there. And so we'd have to get about 100 smoke bombs to throw in there to clear everything out before we'd even want to venture inside. But it's still something that we've talked about. We'll see. We'll let you know.
The next question I have says, what company supplied fuel to the station?
Conoco. In fact, Ed and I, again, back in June, we visited the Conoco Museum in Ponca City, and we're working with them to try to get some more information about, any receipts, because those are things naturally we'd like to have in the interpretive center, for receipts for gas being delivered and things like that. So we haven't followed up on that visit because we've been so busy with other things, but that is something on our agenda to look into, to get more information about the delivery of gasoline and so forth, and oil and so forth to the station back in the 30s and 40s and 50s and 60s before it's closed down. And we'll be making progress on that. Sure, that's one of our next steps.
And do you know anything about the relationship between Conoco and any other African American owned filling stations?
We do not. In fact, the fact that we were told, or we learned, that the Threatt Filling Station is the only African American owned filling station directly on Route 66. That still boggles our mind, but we haven't heard anything different. Now we know in Tulsa that there were gas stations and everything, but I guess they were not directly on Route 66, and maybe in other states as well. But we're not aware of any. But that again is something we're trying to learn about, that whole history of the relationship between the Threatt Filling Station and Conoco before I think Phillips bought out Conoco. And but yeah, that's something again that's on our agenda, but we just haven't been able to pursue that history as yet.
This question says, I think I remember hearing that the Threatt Filling Station was not in the Green Book. And they ask if you would be willing to talk about that, why that might be.
Well, again, we certainly believe it should have been. In fact, and we're not the only ones that believe that. There's an author from the Schomburg in New York by the name of Candace Taylor, who some of you may be aware of. In fact, she's been another person that should have been on that list of credits, now that I think about it. But she wrote a book called The Overground Railroad. And in it, she came out, interviewed Reverend Threatt, and included a whole little small segment there about the Threatt Filling Station, and indicated that, you know, it was one of the significant African American places that provided a lot of a safe haven for African Americans traveling Route 66, but for some reason didn't make it into one of the green books.
And can I go piggyback on you, David, also to that? Because of the Green Book wasn't written then when we, the history of the Threatt Service Station, but God fixed it into the Negro black race of people traveling Mother Road from the East Coast to the West Coast. They didn't have cell phones, but by word of mouth. And when a family leave one coast to the other, they would make sure when they get home, they would, if the friend or cousin, someone was traveling back on 66, they'll make sure by the word of mouth, Threatt Service Station is a safe haven for you to stop. So that was before the Green Book was even written. We were, by the word of mouth, people knew about the historic service station, about the Threatt Service Station. Yes.
The last question that I see right now, and if anybody else has questions, please feel free to enter them, says, can you explain the difference between the Threatt Legacy LLC and the Threatt Filling Station Foundation?
Ed, you want to take that, or you want me to?
Well, okay. The Threatt Legacy LLC was set up to, we had to have a way to protect the land. And through our attorney, we established the LLC so that everyone in the family who had an interest, an ownership interest in the land itself, we all agreed to sign over our interest in the land to the LLC. The attorney established for us a covenant that said that no one in the family, once they sign their interest over to the LLC, that no one in the family could sell their interest to anyone outside of the family. And that is something that will last forever and ever. That was our way of protecting the land itself and to ensure that it would always be owned by our family. Because that's what Grandpa wanted.
Yes.
There was prior to that a verbal understanding that the family, that the property could never be sold outside the family, but that was something that didn't hold up, okay? The foundation was established, well, I'll tell you what, I'll let David explain the foundation, okay?
Okay. Yeah, and Ed is exactly right. We started at the, again, going back 8 years ago. I was looking at when we started this back in 2015, when we first started and wanted to protect and rehabilitate the filling station, and that's when we started this effort and started the Threatt Legacy LLC. And then as we were moving along and realizing that our resources of ourselves, was not enough to do the whole rehabilitation and everything. In order to take advantage of some of the grants and so forth, and federal grants, state grants, so forth, we had to establish a 501c3 foundation to take advantage of those grants and so forth and donations. So that's why we had to start the Threatt Filling Station Foundation, and we started that in 2019. So that's been going on now for about going on 4 years. So that's really the difference. The Threatt Legacy LLC protects the property so that, as Ed said, it never gets outside of the family, and the foundation enables us to pursue the rehabilitation and be prepared for the 2026 Route 66 Centennial.
That's fantastic. Can, if anybody who's watching this presentation live now, or who may be watching a recording of it later, wanted to share with you guys photographs or stories that they may have at the filling station, where should they send those, that content? Can they email you something?
Oh, yes, they can email us directly at threattfillingstation.org. That's THREATTFILLINGSTATION.org, O-R-G. So threattfillingstation.org, they can email us there to get information. They can also go to that webpage. I do advise that the webpage that we have at threattfillingstation.org is outdated. That's another thing that's on our agenda to take care of. In fact, we're in the process of doing some updates now, but it's not, we haven't done. So we haven't done an update in a couple of years on the webpage. Now you can still go there and get some information and make a donation. We'll certainly accept any donations. But again, we're working on updating the website. But you can send there and directly at threattfillingstation.org. Send us any pictures you have of, because that's one thing that we've been canvassing family members and friends for years now, to get any old pictures, information, and so forth that we can use for the interpretive center, and we'd love to have that. And of course, we give you credit for it. One thing we've talked about and kind of put again on the shelf for the time being is gathering all of these things, because we do have some, but gathering even more. And one day we'd like to actually have a book that we can have about the Threatt Filling Station Foundation and the Threatt Family Farm. I hope that answered your question.
Yes, absolutely. That's all the questions that I have right now, unless any of you would like to say anything more.
Well, I just want to thank everyone for, number one, being interested in the Threatt Filling Station. Thank you for being a part of and participating in this webinar. And God bless you. God bless you.
Amen to that. I'd like to add, we are eternally grateful for everybody that's even stopped by, taken a picture, provided support, provided donations, and everybody on that list of credits. And as we went through this, more and more people were popping into my mind that should have been on that credits list. So if we give this presentation again, we'll definitely have you on there. But it's been a pleasure, and it's a project that is near and dear to our hearts. And again, thank you so much.
Stop and visit us.
Yes, and also too, as we close, because of our athlete during this particular time in Jim Crow era, like Joe Louis, which is nicknamed Round Bomber, and Pearl Bailey and other celebrities. We do believe because of the motherland, 66, East Coast to West Coast, and because of the Jim Crow era, in certain places you couldn't stop after 6 o'clock. But Joe Louis and other celebrities had to stop by Threatt service station. So a lot of history that is inside, and we wish we had more history of some of our great athletes that probably stopped by Threatt service station that we have not been aware of. So we thank the family, and we thank the success that we have already made on this service station. And cousin David said on the 26th, the year 26, we hopefully that the younger generation is tuning into will be able to come and see some of the history from grandfather, proud grandfather, through Threatt service station, the person, and God put on his mind to build it upon Mother Road. Mother, yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being here today, Reverend Threatt, Peg, and David. Really appreciate you sharing the story with us, and thank you to everyone who's attended. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you, Christine.
Thank you.